Good evening. Welcome to the WE Innovate Final 2022. I'm Raya El-Salahi and I am delighted to be your host and to be here in person this year to do it rather than over the computer screen, which I'm very excited about. The WE Innovate programme is run by Imperial's Enterprise Lab, the college's flagship entrepreneurship education programme, and designed to support the next generation of women entrepreneurs and help to accelerate their startups. And you are in for a real treat this evening. I've had a little taster of what's in store, and it's brilliant. It comes after a 6-month period of intensive masterclasses, business coaching and mentoring. And today you're going to hear from 5 brilliant finalists competing for a grand prize. We'll also be announcing the winners today of the Lauren Dennis Award and the Engineers in Business Awards. So a fantastic night ahead and lots to look forward to. And to officially kick things off, to open the event, please welcome to the stage the President of Imperial College London, Alice Gust, to share a few words.
Thank you. Is this on? In any case, welcome and thank you so much. This is one of the most exciting evenings you can spend. So I'm so pleased that you're here. I know it's not been easy. Transport is disrupted, but I'm glad you all came, however you managed to get here. And I just wanted to reflect a little bit on WE Innovate. One of the first people I met when I started at Imperial in 2014 was Alexis Durrott St. James. And she had a vision. She knew that there were too few women leading entrepreneurial efforts. There were too few women in our competitions, and she knew that we could do something about it. She had a vision, a plan, and she supported us philanthropically so that we could launch the WE Innovate program. Now, she and Maggie had been working on this before I arrived, and we found there was incredible pent-up demand. In that first year, some 80 groups signed up, and we had all these women wanting to try out their ideas and test their ideas and start new companies. And what do you know? Once they started competing in our program, they started winning other programs. They've won mayor's prizes. They've won other UK competitions. They won our own Catalyst prizes, and they've won very tough Dragon's Den type prizes. And that just shows you that giving people a little bit of confidence and a little bit of support makes all the difference. I'm very proud to say that by now we've supported over 400 such women. And by support, we really do support them. There's quite a bit of learning, as you just mentioned, that they go through: masterclasses, workshops, mentoring, pitch practice, all those things, and you'll see the great fruits of that effort tonight. But that does make a big difference, because you go out into the world with your venture, you're ready to tell people about it, you're ready to make it work, you're ready to look at all angles of it when you have that kind of support. So I'm just so pleased that we've been able to do so much. Alexis, in true venture capital mode, came to us and said, you need to raise other money for this program to make it sustainable. And that was really important, and I want to thank BP for their support of the program, and Alexis for her continued support, and also her vision, which continues. Now, I'm told that our groups have raised something like £16 million towards ventures. I would say that's not enough. And I'm really pleased that we're launching the WE Accelerate program to help our WE Innovate alumni, our WE Innovate winners, and I think they're all winners, whether they win the top prize or not, to go further and to get that support so that they are able to carry on and move forward. And I know that that mentoring and that work is ongoing. They've already raised some £3 million for their efforts, and I know that that will be very fruitful. I want to thank Santander for their support of WE Accelerate. And without any more time taken up, I just want to hand it over so we can get to the pitches. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, without wanting to take up too much more time, because we are all here to hear the fantastic pictures and they are on their way, we do have just a few things to run through. And I would like to welcome to the stage now the Vice President International, Associate Provost Academic Partnerships at Imperial College London, Professor Maggie Dorman, to share a few words with you on the importance of women in STEM. And Maggie, over to you.
Good evening, everybody. This is indeed one of the best evenings that we have at the college, and it is my absolute pleasure to be championing still the WE Innovate programme and all the amazing women that come through it. It is a programme for women, by women, and that is why we have amazing balloons like this. You wouldn't see those at any other Imperial College event. We have some really, really cool projects that you're going to hear about tonight. And it never ceases to amaze me, actually, how our incredible students not only have time to do their studies, but also manage to incorporate this kind of huge program, actually, which requires huge commitment. And they still pass their degrees, they still get their PhDs and so on. But this is an added dimension to what they experience at Imperial College. And it is, I'm so proud that as a college, as a university, we're able to do that. Now, today we're focusing on 5 finalist teams. But I also wanted to congratulate all of the participants in the programme. You're all winners. I think Alice said that. You're all winners. And you've had, I hope, a fantastic time on the programme. But this is an opportunity to celebrate everybody that's been involved, not just the finalists. And I think, all of the participants have shown such dedication, drive, resilience, and commitment to their ventures. And I think these are the kinds of attributes that will take them very far into the future. So I think, supporting women's entrepreneurship not only helps our women students and graduates and alumni achieve their potential, but it also promotes the very significant role that women have to play in our society. And I think nowhere else is this more important than in the STEM field, so science, technology, engineering, medicine, maths, where young women often are still sadly underrepresented. But actually, what's really great is to see the diversity of the students coming through tonight in the diversity of our population at the college. I also wanted to extend a special thanks to BP. I think you're supporting the programme again, and actually I've heard the passion with which you speak about this, and so we're very, very grateful. Thank you, BP, for your support. And I think the funding is going to have a huge impact, and we've seen that actually in the past. So we've had industry experts and WE Innovate alumni, I think some of you are here tonight, who've peer mentored and shared both their time and expertise to women on the programme. And I think this has just the most incredible positive impact, and I'd like to thank you for that. And really your insights have been an invaluable source of wisdom, and I think when you're young, a little bit of wisdom can help you go even further. Finally, Alice kindly mentioned that Alexis and I schemed and plotted this before Alice arrived. And we did, we schemed and plotted, but it would have gone nowhere, actually, without the Enterprise Lab. So I want to give a special thanks to the Enterprise Lab for actually taking an idea that was not properly developed by any stretch of the imagination and turning it into what you're going to hear tonight. And it's truly a fantastic story. So I can see the team here. Thank you very much indeed. In particular, I wanted to thank Alaz Ismail, Alaz down here at the front, who's sadly leaving us. I don't know how she can possibly do that, but for a very exciting new role, Alaz. We wish you all the very best, but don't be a stranger. Please stay in contact. This year, it's been just an absolute delight working with you, and it always has been. So good luck for the future. Now, thank you, and on to the real business of this evening.
Okay, so let me introduce you to the judges before we kick off. And every year, WE Innovate selects a panel of really esteemed judges across industry and academia to help select the most promising founders. And this year is no different. Our judging panel has extensive experience in running and scaling ventures with an impressive resume. And I'd like to introduce you to them. I'm sitting in the middle here. You can see them raising a hand. Yes. Welcome. So we have Alexis Dirard St. James, founder and managing partner of Merian Ventures. Welcome. Very good to have you with us. Sophia Nadir, managing partner at BP Ventures. Welcome along. Raising a hand there. And Ramzi Rishani, the founder of Longview Partners LLP. Welcome. So I'd like to welcome you all here, and just to begin, ask you to introduce yourselves, if you would, using the mics in front of you, to our audience. And Alexis, if I could start with you. Can I ask you about the importance for you of investing in women-led ventures, women-led startups at Merian Ventures?
Yes, well, obviously, WE Innovate is an extension of what I do every day, which is I invest in female founders, very much like every female in this room, who's focused on deep tech. And that's only a part of it. I mean, the real inspiration for me is seeing female founders step up, lead companies, and of course, when they find talent in men and other teams, that's really the secret sauce for me, is it's the innovation arc that I'm trying to create, and that's what we do every day. And it's just so happy, for me, I'm so happy to see it come to fruition here. Brilliant. So thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Next we have Sophia. And Sophia, if I could ask you just to tell us a bit about yourself and BP's role in supporting up-and-coming ventures.
Hi, I'm Sophia, managing partner at Ventures. So we have two things. So we look at the energy transition and how does BP. So I don't care about oil and gas. My focus is really on the energy transition and on supporting young companies. Because at the end of the day, to get affordable, convenient, and reliable energy, it's who makes that decision, typically the women in the household. So how do you ensure that the next generation of energy, new energy ideas that are coming through, you have to go to women as well, because they're the ones who often have to figure out the solutions. On a personal level, I've launched my own startup, sold it. So I've been in your shoes as well. So and I've lived to enjoy it, and BP has a strong network of support, and so some of the early stage companies that we have ventured in, and I'm actually on the board on, have women on the boards, and I deliberately, and I was saying this to Maggie earlier, we're deliberately looking for founders which are diverse, founding teams that are diverse now. It's really, really paying dividends.
Brilliant, thank you. And last but by no means least, Ramzi, you have seen many startups in your time. So just give us some advice for the startups tonight. What are you looking for? What makes a great pitch?
Wrong question. Sorry, I haven't seen any startups. We worked in public equities and only worked in very large companies. But what I look for in these companies, sorry?
Given your experience, what advice would you give?
Yeah, I think it's very difficult to start a business on your own. I think it's very important to have a partner. I think the partner that you have is extremely difficult to choose as well, because there are lots of ups and downs throughout the life of a company, and it's someone you should be able to laugh with, and someone you should be able to cry with, someone you should be able to support when times are difficult. And the last thing I have to say is that you need the culture within the firm, because the culture is the glue that you have within all the people working in the firm and working more better as a team.
Thank you very much indeed. Okay, so you've met our judges, and thank you all for being here. Almost time to hand over to the pitches, the reason that we're all here. Let me just briefly run through how this will work. So we have 5 teams competing for tonight's grand prize. Each team will be given 5 minutes to pitch. And that will be followed by a 10-minute Q&A session with our judges. Once all of the 5 teams have pitched, our judges will deliberate on the winning team, which will be announced here this evening. Very exciting indeed. Which brings us on to the first of tonight's pitches. And the first team to pitch is Woost. Melis Edda Akinji is a graduate of PhD in chemical biology of health and disease, and Woost is developing an at-home blood test kit to regularly track biomarkers in menstrual blood to diagnose gynecological conditions earlier. Melis, over to you. Thank you.
Okay. Hello everyone, my name is Melis and I am the founder of Woost, and our mission is to support women everywhere for them to take control of their own health journey. I want to start off by talking about Emily. She's a young woman in her 20s who started experiencing some symptoms and went to the GP for help. However, she was dismissed and told that everything was normal, it was just part of being a woman. So she left the GP's office being confused and not knowing what to do. And this cycle continued for a while until she was finally diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome, or PCOS. Yet there is still a lack of support and education around this disease. Unfortunately, a lot of women suffer from these conditions as well and have the same health story. As they have reported, they had to go to 3 or more healthcare professionals and spent years in agony before they were finally diagnosed. The NHS was recently called out on this, as they have continuously deprioritized gynecological conditions, which led to an increase of 60% of the waiting lists in gynecology post-pandemic. That's the largest we have seen of all the elective specialties. What does that mean for PCOS? Well, PCOS is a chronic disease which has a direct correlation with many life-threatening diseases. So for the patient, it is pivotal to get an earlier diagnosis so they can prevent these diseases and overall improve their quality of life. For the NHS, it is a direct relief of pressure regarding the backlog, as well as cost savings, as PCOS costs £237 million per year for the NHS. So what's the answer to this problem? Well, it's Woost, an at-home blood test to track biomarkers in menstrual blood for an earlier diagnosis of PCOS. So anyone can join our digital platform, order the test online, and collect their blood as usual. They can next perform the test at the comfort of their home. They can scan the test, get instant result, and most importantly, get the support they need with the content we have provided and the channels we have opened. They can track their overall gynecological health using our health dashboard. We got very excited when we had positive feedback from clinicians such as Ed. He got inspired by the power of remote diagnosis and what kind of impact it will have on patient care. 10 to 20% of women suffer from PCOS. That equals to $121 million market size in the UK. Globally, we expand to $3.4 billion, but we can use our technology to treat or to diagnose endometriosis as well as fibroids. That equals to $10 billion market. Well, the uniqueness of our market space is that it has a great growth rate, but we believe that we can further increase our market size because 60 to 70% of women who have PCOS remain undiagnosed. Women can start tracking their symptoms using our digital platform. They can then order menstrual blood test packages, one for the diagnosis of PCOS, which would be subscription-based, then for the prognosis of related diseases once they had their first test confirmed, and lastly, to monitor their overall health. We will give them a personalized baseline and get them tested yearly. The uniqueness of our technology lies on the amount of data we are producing. We are looking at phenotypic data and biochemical data and forming this database which never existed before. So we can take advantage of that and use it to license to pharma and research institutes to learn more about this disease and come up with new treatment options. Looking at our competitors, they are mainly based in venous blood testing in lab. There are some startups who are moving towards menstrual blood testing in lab as well, but we would be the only ones who are offering at-home blood testing of menstrual blood. Well, our core team consists of me and Ellie. So I am the head of research at FreshCheck at the moment. So I have the experience on what it takes to bring a product from the ideation state all the way to market readiness, as I've already done it. And Ellie too. On top of that, she has experience in clinical trial as well as blood processing. We are very lucky to have a diverse advisory board with in-depth knowledge ranging all the way from healthcare diagnostics to innovation fundraising to the NHS. Throughout the WE Innovate program, we made amazing progress. We talked to our customer, we collaborated with the business school, and we have a clear strategy on how to develop our product. With the £15,000, we want to make that strategy into reality and start with our proof of concept. We have the support from the incubator at Imperial and already have a lab set aside for us. Over the next couple of years, we want to move towards clinical studies and compare healthy patients to PCOS patients and compare venous blood to menstrual blood, and then trial our device with our customers and go through the regulatory bodies to launch our MVP by 2028. Well, our vision is to reshape healthcare to meet the needs of women and eliminate the gender inequality women have been experiencing for decades in healthcare. And we all ask you to be part of it and join us. Thank you so much for listening.
Okay, which brings us to judges' questions. Well done on a brilliant first
Thank you.
pitch, Melis. And can we start with Alexis?
Sure. Thank you. Great presentation. So I have a couple of questions. The first one is when you talk about your data sets and what you're going to do with your data sets once you collect them, it's going to be an additional revenue stream? It's going to be an additional. Okay. How large is your data set now? Where does it come from? Is it proprietary? So talk a little bit about the data set, and then I'd like to know how you're pricing the product.
Okay, sure. So I should mention that I started my journey with the Innovate program. So it was an idea a few months ago, and now it's this. So we haven't even started to do our testing because we need to get proper regulatory approval. We need a sponsor from Imperial, so that's why having Ed in our advisory board is great. He's already putting us in contact with that. So once we have all of that in place, we will move towards the data sets. So it's really hard to actually put a number of the data because it really depends on the accuracy and the sensitivity of the test. So initially, when we're doing our proof of concept in the clinic, we're looking at 15 patients, but then obviously we're going to increase that to hundreds and more once we're looking into accuracy. Was that all the, and then the pricing.
Right, so you would theoretically use private labs, NHS, to get your sample size and then run your data arrays through those?
Yeah, so initially we start with getting, like you said, getting the clinical study in place through the NHS, collect that menstrual blood and analyze it in lab to get the guideline, to get the references, ranges for menstrual blood. Because we know it for venous blood, we don't know for menstrual blood yet, so we need to compare them both. Once we have that baseline, we can then further develop the device. So the way we want to develop the device, it's kind of going to be simultaneously, it's going to be assay development, looking into like clean biomarkers, then mimic blood, then use it for venous blood and then menstrual blood. But we will have that going simultaneously while we are doing the clinical studies.
And the pricing of the product, it will be on a subscription, or how will it be priced?
So yeah, the pricing is an interesting one. Just to show you the competitors, at the moment, this is venous blood testing. There are different packages depending on what type of biomarkers they're testing, how many biomarkers they're testing. So we are hoping to be, well, in between all of that. But it's going to be more of like a lateral flow type test, so it's going to be probably in that range. But it's very early on to talk about testing, but it's going to be hopefully in that range.
And then finally, did you say that the ROI, or I'm looking at this as an ROI, that £237 million a year is what the NHS spends on
PCOS.
On resources just to manage this one area?
Exactly. And the reason for that is because, like I said, there are so many diseases correlated to PCOS, diabetes being one of the major ones. I think it's 60 to 70% of PCOS patients are insulin resistant. So they are actually getting treated by getting metformin, which is a diabetic drug. So all of that 237, around 50 to 60% of that cost goes into diabetes cost related to PCOS. So by having an earlier diagnosis, we can prevent that and reduce it, and obviously reducing the time it gets for diagnosis as well. So that's kind of a double win.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sophia, to you next.
Excellent presentation.
Thank you.
A couple of questions. One is, you're going after a very specific target market, yeah? So I'm outside of it because I'm no longer menstruating. Shock, right? But I love it. I love. So you're very clear in your target market. So that made me think a couple of things. One is your distribution channel. You need to think a little bit about that. Maybe do you just look at Randox and as a distribution conduit, and then you add your test as an offer, as a trial? Because one thing you've got on your side is that everybody's doing at-home testing. We all had COVID, yeah? So we're accustomed to this dipping at home and testing and all this Instagram sharing of our results, right? And then the other thing was around, what other things can you test with menstrual blood? So it made me think as well, how do you create a package? Because one of the reasons why you might buy these tests and you would buy a bundle, that's where you get your incremental value. If you look at other things that you can also test. No pressure, I know you just started.
No. I'm really happy to answer that. This is a really good question. So to start off, what else can we test? Well, a lot.
Okay.
Whatever we can test with blood, and we can test with menstrual blood. On top of it, there are about 1,000 unique proteins which are specifically for menstrual blood, which has came out. So we actually can explore that. It is so interesting. I started with PCOS. Well, to give you a bit more personal information, I have PCOS myself. So I am actually dedicated to this cause. And most importantly, we have more information in PCOS than we have in endometriosis. It's a perfect entry to market and then expand towards the other diseases. But when I was talking to Ed, he got excited that we could apply it to a specific type of cancer. We could apply it to STI testing, to vitamin testing, even if you wanted to fertility, which is one of the prognosis ones. And for me, also important is pre-menopausal stage or early menopause as well, because there's a massive gap there too. So the possibilities are endless. And the first question was that
distribution channels.
Distribution channel, yes. I already talked to PCOS Challenge, which is this massive charity in the United States. I talked to the executive director. They have 50,000 PCOS patients as members. So for me, and I also tried to get into contact with Verity, which is the equal charity in the UK. So for me, using them as one channel and engaging with the patient as much as we can, because it has to be built with the patient together. So that's one channel. The second way of doing this, actually, PCOS, as obesity and weight gain is one of the symptoms. Nutritionists are actually, their customer base there are a lot of PCOS patients. I already talked to 2 nutritionists as well, so we can collaborate and going in that channel direction and target our customers. Well, our target customer segment or our early adopters we're thinking is going to be 20 to 24-year-olds very early on. So universities is another way. I'm like part of many femtech societies in universities as well, and so that's kind of the channels I'm looking at to reach the Gen Z of this generation. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Ramsey, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much for the presentation. Really enjoyed it. You started with your presentation by talking about the importance of the early diagnosis of PCOS. Have you considered that you can maximize your reach of women by distributing your product to the doctors, as opposed to distributing directly to the women who are at risk for that? You go to the doctor, you got a problem, boom, you get it. And the examples that you gave were examples of women that went to the doctors. And that's how come you can have a much bigger reach, sadly, as opposed to the bigger reach that you have, you get a smaller target market.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's my secondary market, the NHS. I actually applied to NHS Accelerator and got into the Hill early stage accelerator program as well to explore that and learn more about the NHS. But as we know, it's really hard to get in, and every trust has its own rules. And I thought about pharmacies too as a distribution channel. Well, the thing is, women at the moment they already have a problem to access healthcare. They already have a problem to actually get an appointment to do a blood test, which I've seen over the last few years anyway. And one of the key things was like getting that away, making it location independent so they can actually do it at the comfort of their homes. But I am definitely keeping the channel to the NHS as well. I also am going to go to the United States to explore them as a potential healthcare market because they are very different to the NHS. So entering there, because they're used to paying for healthcare, might be a different way. So I have a summit I'm going in September that's going to be interesting to explore. So, but I'm definitely keeping the doctors as a potential entry to market. And that's why I want to collaborate with them as much as I can.
And out of curiosity,
Yeah.
what will the device look like? I don't think you showed us. Does it
So-
look like an iPhone, or is it something bigger? Or
So, yeah, I mean, I guess imagine it being like this. There's going to be several channels, so think about a lateral flow test, literally, in a way. Different channels, so you basically drop the blood, it runs through it, and then you see it, but you only see lines. So there are different ways of actually then accessing that data. Either it's going to be using your phone, and that can actually quantify, and try to quantify it. You can make it semi-quantitative by having lines. So it's kind of like a barcode in a way. Or you can have a reader if it comes to that point where it's going to be, we need more sensitivity, and really much depends on the technology. But yeah, imagine it to be like kind of a disc.
thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions, judges?
No?
Yeah, I've got a question if there's more time.
yeah, no,
Did
go
you
for
say
it.
that your MVP is coming in 2028? Or did I hear
So-
incorrectly?
We are, yeah, I mean, that was a very, I was going through all the different ways of how to get there, because the clinical study, timeline-wise, we are guessing it's about a year to a year and a half. The regulations around entering the market, we have to get the UKCA mark, so I talked to the MHRA as well, and it's really hard because it has to be approved by a UK, a approved body. And at the moment, the rules are changing, so it's going to be different in June 2023. And because UK exited the EU, there is at the moment this transition state, and they are introducing new rules. There is a massive backlog regarding getting through that approved body, because everyone who has a CE mark for the EU now has to move towards UKCA mark. But we are hoping to overcome that, because once we are ready, it's going to be all cleared up again. But that was just like kind of a guideline of like regulation as well, clinical study as well as development, I think about. But it could be, to be honest, it really much depends on the support. I can make it happen even earlier.
Well done. Time's up. Thank you very much indeed.
Okay. Thank you.
That brings us on to the second pitch of the evening. And up next, we have the founder of Saved Food, Clara Best, a graduate of the MSc Innovation, Entrepreneurship and Management. Saved Food develops insect-based cereals, pasta and snacks, leveraging the high protein content and nutrients of insects to become an alternative protein. Please welcome Clara to the stage.
Good evening, everyone. It's a true pleasure to be here tonight. My name is Clara, and I'm the founder of Saved Food. And I'm on the mission to make insect protein mainstream. We all know the environmental cost of animal agriculture, representing 18% of total CO2 emissions. With a rising population, it's not sustainable anymore to get all our proteins from farmed livestock. But switching to alternative protein is not that easy. It's either too processed, not digestible, bland, or hard to cook. So what is the future of protein? Introducing crickets. Crickets is the most sustainable animal protein out there and the most digestible plant-based protein. But why haven't we transitioned to this? We haven't transitioned to this because no one likes the idea of eating something that looks like this. Don't worry, the future is now saved. Introducing a range of products that you love, such as granola, pasta, snacks, protein powder, turning them into your alternative proteins without you seeing the crickets and without you changing your habits. So at Saved, we turn this into this without you losing any of the proteins. One portion of our products is saving 1,000 liters of water, 71 kilograms of CO2, 75 kilograms of feed, and even money, £1.50 instead of eating beef from Tesco's. So the market we're targeting is the London flexitarians first, representing 350 million. And this market is comprised of pasta, snacks, protein powder, breakfast cereals, as well as alternative protein markets. Once obtained, we will move into the UK flexitarian market, expand to Western Europe, and then globally, which represents 600 billion market opportunity. This is Saved current business model. We are sourcing our protein powder from Europe, as well as where we produce our products. And the initial strategy is to go sell through our websites, through direct to consumer, and then also testing different channels such as quick commerce and specialized retail stores. This is how we compare to competition. We have a broader range of products, and we are moving to vertical integration. So this is what happened in the past year. Last June, I've quit my job at Pepsi to start Saved, and the first step was really to understand everything around entomophagy, speaking to experts, and understanding the landscape. End of last year was really to get under the skin of consumers, understanding the struggles vis-à-vis alternative proteins, and then beginning of this year was really about product development and product testing to get to our current product range. This takes us to where we are now at the soft launching phase, which started last week at Taste of London, which is UK's biggest food festival. We sold over 1,500 products within 5 days and spoke to potential 10,000 consumers. In October, we'll be launching 1 product out of the 5, keeping the rest in the pipeline to keep iterating. And this is where WE Innovate comes in. Through the WE Innovate funding, we will be able to invest heavily behind our product launch and by incorporating all the feedback gathered over the summer. And beginning of next year, it will be about testing, getting a retail listing such as Planet Organic, as well as focusing on getting on the accelerator program of one of the big 4, such as Sainsbury's Taste of the Future. But this doesn't stop here. We have bigger and bolder ambitions, such as having our own insect vertical farm, to expand B2B, as well as expanding into insect meat once perception of insect is more accepted. So a big vision is amazing, but without a team, it doesn't really work. I have a background in FMCG as well as private equity, and I have a team of 2 working on the marketing side and hiring for a sales manager too. On the insect farming bit, we have trusted relationship with experts in the industry who will be able to advise us best moving forward. On the advisory board, we have expertise ranging from startups, alternative proteins, PE, and VC, and they've been following us since the very beginning. So help us make switching to truly sustainable eating effortless and delicious. Through you, the future can now be saved. Thank you. And just to mention, we have a coupon code for 10% off on the website if you want to have a look. And judges, you'll have 3 samples. One is sesame tortilla chips, granola, and protein powder, chocolate taste. Bon appétit.
Well done. Okay. Judges, when you finished taste testing, over to you for questions. And Sophia, if we could start with you.
Okay. Clara, thank you very much. Excellent presentation.
Thank you.
Until you told me you work at Pepsi. I used to work at Coke, so sorry about that. All right? I think this is fantastic. So I've got 2 questions for you, okay? First question is, cricket is not, so cricket as an ingredient, as an alternative protein source, is not new, yeah? When I worked at Mars, when I worked at Kraft, we used to look at cricket. We stayed away because of various issues, sourcing issues around supply. One question I want to know, have you thought yet, and I know it's still early stage, have you thought about what's going to be your USP? What is it? Is this specific cricket powder? Is it going to give you something? Is there something in the cricket? Because if you think of it, this is all going to appeal to the Insta and the TikTok audience, getting a celebrity recipe, somebody to do a recipe with the product is just going to send your sales into the stratosphere. But getting to that little USP, I think, will really, really help to stand outside the Whole Foods and all the other rubbish that's out there, okay? Second point is around, I think the 10,000 consumers that you touched at that festival was an awesome. What was the feedback you got in terms of learning and improvement? One or two thoughts that you didn't know before, but that you got in that feedback?
Yeah, well, thank you for your question. So the first one, the USB. There's one thing, as I mentioned, alternative protein is not that easy. And one of the biggest USP is for people not to change their habits. You're still eating pasta, you're still eating granola every day, but you're getting better granola and protein powder and so on because you're getting your alternative proteins through food that you know. And the second USP is complete protein is hard to get once you start transitioning to flexitarianism. So what we want to educate consumers is that insect is great because it's complete. Complete is meaning all the chain of amino acids that you wouldn't really get from other things. So the USP is mainly you don't change your habits, and we give you the proteins that you need through food that you know. And then, well, obviously the cricket is the main also selling point as it's unusual and people like to discover new things, especially after 2 years of COVID where life was not very fun. In terms of the festival last week, it was a great exposure and I was really, really pleasantly surprised of how people reacted. I think since I'm in a testing phase for a month now, starting off with Taste of London, the two main things that came out of it is that the protein powder, for instance, is really obviously targeted to sportives. So depending if we want to go through that route, it's going to be a very different segment to the one we're currently considering, the sportive, the gym guys, and so on. And on the other side, I think staple food, which is pasta and granola, is the one that really were the most appreciated because of that aspect of convenience and that you can easily swap it in your everyday life and have this as your new staples. So those were the kind of two main outcomes, but it's been 3 days, so I still need to go through the data.
It's good.
How do you enjoy it? Okay,
yeah,
good.
Ramsey, to you next.
I think you gave a fantastic presentation.
Thank you.
Which has left me almost speechless because I don't really have any good questions to ask you other than differentiating yourself from the competition, which was already asked. So
thank you.
Take that as a compliment.
Thank you.
And Alexis, to you next.
Yeah, so I have questions about the manufacturing process. When you say that you source from Europe, where in Europe? Have you looked at your manufacturing cost? Is it organic, inorganic?
What do you mean by organic and inorganic?
Well, first of all, the market's divided into organic foods and non-organic
foods.
foods.
Yeah, organic.
So are these organic crickets or not organic crickets or?
Yeah.
Just a little bit of background because crickets are already, somewhat unusual for most people.
Yeah.
But I'm really interested in the manufacturing process. Where do they come from?
Yeah.
Who owns the farms? Who controls the farms? How do you get the crickets here? Is it in pellets or powder form?
Yeah.
And then how do you price the products?
Yeah, of course. So quite a lot of questions to go through. So to start with, I'll start on the insect side. So our insects come from Europe, but the biggest farms are in Asia because obviously most insects are from there.
But where in Europe?
Europe, we have a Spanish vertical farm and a UK farm as well, next to Manchester. So the insects are grown within 6 weeks. You harvest them, you freeze them for them to die, and then dry them and mill them into a powder form. One cricket, 100% of a cricket is 70% protein, so you're left with a like a protein powder that I'm currently using, which is 70%. So even in a small amount in food, it kind of puts the protein powder, the protein content of the food to the roof. So that's on the insect farm. Organic or non-organic, it's hard to tell. There's no certification for insects yet in terms of the organic world. But since it's a quite new industry, there's quite a lot of regulation on how many insects you can put per batch and per boxes and so on. So on the ethical side, it is ethical, and there's a lot of regulation on that. In terms of the products, my 5 products come from Europe. ranging from France, Spain to Slovakia and Czech Republic. I wanted originally to make a UK-made product to even reduce transport, shipping and so on. But insects are crustaceans and part of the family, so a lot of manufacturers don't want cross-contaminations in the manufacturers. So it's been really, really an issue, and I spent quite a lot of time, and it has slowed me down on that process to find manufacturers. So hence the broad range of countries for all different products. And yeah. And what was the last question?
Pricing.
Pricing, yeah.
So you have 5 countries, you're producing 4 or 5 products.
Yeah.
Each one's going to have a different price point.
Yeah, it does.
And extrusion process, all of that. So if one of the most popular foods in the world is pasta,
yeah.
I'm just curious how you backward integrated the price. How could you determine the price? And is the price point seem right in the market?
Well, the price for 300 grams of pasta is £5 at the moment, but since I'm in a testing phase, I'm testing different prices with different target groups. So, for example, in 2 weeks, we're going to like a CrossFit event to test on sportive people, and we'll be testing a different range of a different pricing to see how it appeals. In terms of the pricing itself, there's obviously the raw material, the shipping cost, the custom cost with Brexit now, the insect protein cost. There's quite a bit in it, but we have an 80% profit margin on the product, and yeah, for now it's still very much figuring out the whole situation about transport, trying to adjust the pricing depending on different channels as well. Since I'm, as I said, direct to consumer, but I'm also testing quick commerce by the end of the year, and specialized retail store, which also have different margins. So it's all about kind of testing different price points at that stage.
So your profit margin is 80% landed in store or 80%
online for now.
Online, okay.
Yeah, and this is what we need to figure out.
Online is the best. Can I follow up?
We are almost out of time, but just
Okay,
time for a brief one.
quick comment. I like your vertical farm idea.
Yeah.
So rather than deal with all those foreign sourced crickets, why not just focus, create a vertical farm, or get somebody to invest in a vertical farm in London or something like that?
Oh, that's the point.
And actually create it, and actually do it locally, because then all of a sudden you have a different story to tell.
Yeah, and that's the plan, to vertically integrate.
And how much is that? How much will that cost to build?
5 million.
Okay.
To produce 25 million crickets, to have 2,000 kilograms of protein powder per week. But locally, yes, I agree, but I think depending on the manufacturing aspect, insects are cold-blooded, and so the metabolism, the higher the temperature, the higher they grow. So to create a sustainable business, if I put it in the UK, you need a lot of heating, as it's not super warm here. So ideally would be to put it in Southern Europe, such as Spain and so on, to avoid spending a lot of energy on heating the manufacturer.
Okay, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Okay, before we move on to the next team, can I ask if you have space between you and the person next to you, if you could just budge up a little bit, because we haven't got enough space for all the people arriving late. So if you wouldn't mind just to take a moment to move along, it would be much appreciated. Thank you. Brilliant. Thank you very much indeed. That brings us on to the next team of the night. It's UNTAP, co-founded by Faculty of Engineering PhD graduates Dr. Claire Trant and Dr. Jay Bullen. UNTAP's solution is wastewater surveillance that could monitor a whole community in one test. Please welcome Claire Trant to the stage.
Good evening. Good evening. It is an honour to speak to you today in person. I'm Claire Trant, co-founder of UNTAP, a team of Imperial PhD alumni. We are providing intelligent community health monitoring using sewage. Today I'm going to share with you our vision, how we are going to get there, and how the WE Innovate funding will make a severe impact to us. So, the past few years have shown us as a society how vulnerable we are to viruses, how underprepared we are for the next one, and how blind we have been in the past decades as a Western society to the impact viruses have had on us already. Actually, 36 billion is wasted each year in the UK and the US on flu and norovirus. 4% of your organisation's productivity is lost to flu. And going forward, that's only going to get worse. 70 billion is estimated to be lost every year to COVID. Going forward, obviously. But the most scary fact is there is a 1 in 5 chance that there'll be another pandemic like COVID again in the next 5 years. So sewage surveillance. Some of you might have heard about it before. It's been used globally to track and eradicate polio. Actually, just today in the news, it was seen that polio was found again in London sewage. It was used to detect opioids across the US, drugs in prisons, and the COVID-19 pandemic. So it wasn't PCR testing that drove the UK's lockdowns, it was sewage. And the reason it's such a great tool is because you can detect viruses a week before symptoms and a week before nasal testing. And you can do all that cheaper than mass lateral flow testing, more reliably than mass lateral flow testing, and most impressively, it's not even invasive at all. However, current techniques. A sample is taken from the community wastewater. It's driven to the lab, it's tested, and the data is sent back to the community. It takes around 3 days and costs around £800 per sample at the moment. The problem with it taking 3 days is you lose half the week advantage that sewage gives you. This is the technique currently being used by international governments, Veolia and Bible Analytics, who recently closed a 20 million Series A using this technique. Untap is providing this service directly to customers, an automated hardware solution on site. This will provide the community, care home, office, school, prison, and more with their viral risk in real time and how to mitigate that. This will transform how we live alongside viruses and bacteria. So to give you a quick overview of the customer journey with Untap, a system is put directly in your community, 1 system per building. This will then give the community's viral risk as either low, medium, or high. High viral risk will indicate to give more active actions, such as social distancing or masks on. Medium risk will be more passive background actions, and then low risk will reassure you you're safe. This dynamic system will have the right measures at the right time. This untaps a global market. First of all, in the work-from-work economy in the UK, so care homes and factories, but then scaling internationally takes us to the tens of billions. But the really massive opportunity here is when you look at the data. The data could guide public health policy, insurance policy, and pharmaceutical companies. So here you can see our CAD of our prototype. We're selling this directly to customers at around £1,000 a month. And because of our very low hardware costs, there's around over a 75% to 80% gross profit margin. Through the WE Innovate program, we've had access to 3 different trials. First off, in a factory, we were able to tell them when customers and auditors were coming on site with COVID-19. In the office, we were able to tell them when they had the virus on site and prevent transmission. And in the care home, most importantly, we were able to tell them when they take their masks off when they were safe. In speaking to these customers, we've learned that there's 3 main things they care about. Number 1 is work-from-work reassurance. Number 2 is to increase their workplace productivity. And 3 is to reduce the transmission in their workplace. Our team at Untap. So I've worked in sewage for over 7 years. Jay has got a PhD in water tech. And our team and advisory board has got over 50 years in B2B sales experience. So far, we've already secured an Innovate UK Smart Grant, which has enabled us to build our COVID-19 prototype and get a patent. Going forward with the WE Innovate funding, we could turn this prototype into a product for both COVID-19 and flu and deploy that this summer on a customer site. Going forward, further rounds of R&D will allow us to test for norovirus, antimicrobial resistance, and even stress and some cancers. So that's us from Untap, keeping us safer with crap data.
Well done. And we'd now like to welcome your team member, Jay, to join you for judges' questions. Welcome, Jay.
Hi.
Right, can we start, Ramsey, with you?
Yeah, could you talk a bit about the maintenance, the outside maintenance that this product will need?
Yeah, absolutely. So going forward, the first product we're making, obviously the product one, requires maintenance every 3 months. And that's because the chemical reagents in there last 3 months and they degrade after that. But going forward, we're looking at changing that system, which Jay knows much more about, but it's more freeze-dried and you mix it with water, and so it will last up to 5 years. Obviously, there is maintenance required should the product have faults and failures. We're making the design so that it is modular. There's literally racks, 4 racks, and should one module fail, it can be pulled out and put back in with a different one, and we can fix it in the lab. This video showed it being put in a sewer under a manhole. That was purely demonstrative. What actually, as you have probably seen, is the electricity boxes outside buildings, and there's a guy or girl in a high-vis jacket, opening it. This is very much how the system will be. Every building has, every 6 meters, rodding stations, so that should you have a blockage in your water, you can unblock it. This will go through those. It won't be going under manholes, so it can be easily accessed in our first product. Going forward, it will last much, much longer, but that's built into our journey.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Alexis, to you next.
Follow-on question. So can you say what the dimension is of this box, and then you will have a team that will locate the boxes, maintain the boxes, and then another team that's doing just the software as a service kind of follow through? So I think I just need some more explanation on, you drop the box, you're getting the readings and the sensors, they have to be replaced every 3 months, and then the customer will be reading this, or will you be reading it in a lab remotely?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's put on site by a service engineer. There will be no formalized training required for that other than, well, very, very minimal formalized training. Just to be very clear, there's only a very small amount of liquid that needs to be put in every 3 months. It's not a whole box sensor maintenance, it's just that small bit. The data will be sent to us initially in the first product, because we will be doing data cleanup.
So you're getting the data remote sent to you?
Yes.
It's not goes to the customer, so you send them a report post facto?
Yeah, the very first product will be coming to us, then we're sending it to them, because we want to be part of that journey. But going forward, we look at building a big data set and really understanding how we can interact with each building. The real vision here is every building is different, it has different airflows, has different dimensions, and the more building management system you have and data of that building, the more you can really impact the reduction in viral transmission. So we're looking at going directly into that building and using much bigger AI and machine learning models.
So you need access to the sewer from the customer's pipes, is
Yeah,
that correct?
absolutely.
Okay, so it starts from the customer side, the pipe side, plant the device, and then you're getting the readings and then sending the information back to the customer.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the pricing of this is $1,000 per unit, and that's an 80% profit margin
Per month.
per month. And then what is the service as a software model? You're pricing the software separate from the hardware?
So we're pricing at £1,000 a month, and that encompasses everything included in that. However, we're looking at different models depending on how many biomarkers you want to trace. So as we're all aware, as I said, polio is back, scarlet fever is potentially back. So if we're tracking more and more viruses, we'll be pricing it at a higher price.
Okay. And you want to WE Innovate? I mean,
Innovate UK.
Okay, how much was that grant?
We won £50,000.
£55,000?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And then this will extend you for how long? How much more time do you need to develop the prototype? Or you think the prototype's developed and in situ and you're getting the data you need?
So we have a plan over the summer to automate it fully. At the moment, it's not fully automated. This will enable us to fully automate it. Going for SCIS right now, we haven't quite got enough to be able to raise this current market, and this would really get us over the line with the automation to prove ourselves enough to raise that SCIS.
Okay, great. So you're almost at proof of concept.
Almost.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Sophia, to you next.
Excellent. Again, I don't just say that just like that. A couple of things. One is, what IP do you have? And how are you going to build this competitive moat, this moat around you, so you can keep people out and create something really, really unique? And you're dealing with really, really, really dull building owners. I deal with them because we've dealt with them on energy efficiency improvements. They're difficult to deal with. Sorry, building owners, if any of you all in the room. How do you have to think a little bit about the sales cycle, because that sales cycle is quite long and they don't have sewage on their mind. yeah, as much as they want to improve productivity. The question is, I think maybe, have you thought a little bit about the sales cycle and how you're going to really tap into them, and whether you need to think about other offers and look at piggybacking on potentially other offers?
I'll let you know how we're going to untap that market first. But Jay, do you want to go over the pattern a bit?
Hello. Yes, sure. So we submitted our first patent application a few months ago. So that's more process-driven. And then we're aiming to get some daughter patents on the finalized novel components, because to achieve an automated version of what people do in the lab manually using pipettes and centrifuges, it requires a few kind of custom components. That we're currently developing, kind of custom CNC designs, things like that. And then in terms of going forwards and creating that barrier to market, essentially we're really interested in continued innovation. The whole field of wastewater-based epidemiology, it only started attracting that attention in the last couple of years. So no one's had a reason to make the kind of technology innovation that will make life easier for the scientists who want the data, or for the people on the ground who want their health data to be actionable. So we're interested in, you can move into sequencing, you can look at other biomarkers, things like pharmaceuticals, like stress biomarkers, happy population, using slightly different analytical technologies. And as Claire said, it's a very modular system. So we've built it so that we can swap out the end detector, we can segment the streams. There's many different options to expand into kind of lab on sewer type technology.
And on the market, so we're going first to the work-from-work economies. Care homes, calling them up directly has worked phenomenally well. They're looking for a solution. And then factories, again, calling them up, work very well. However, you're right, offices. Working with offices is very difficult because you've got a building manager, the person that works in that organization is a tenant, and it's been much, much harder. So that's why we're going from the work like the care homes, the factories first, proving it out there, and then attacking the offices. We're not going for offices directly to start with, we're going through facilities management companies, because it's just a lot easier. We've actually got a trial with a European Dutch-based facilities management company. They have a smart office in the Netherlands. When we're ready, going out there to trial in their smart office directly.
Okay, that brings us to time. Thank you very much. Okay, next we have the founders of Team Repair, led by design engineering students, just bear with me, Megan Hale, Anais Engelman, Oliver Colborne, Patrick McGuckian and Oscar Jones. And Team Repair are developing a program to send electronic gadgets and deliberate faults to 8 to 12-year-olds to design them, teach them to design key scientific knowledge and fixing skills. And Megan and Anais, over to you.
Let's start with the question. When something breaks at home, what do you do? Well, if you're like 80% of the population, you probably want to fix it, but don't know how. So you end up throwing it away, contributing to the 580,000 kilos of electronic waste produced every single day, and that's just in London. My name is Anais, this is Meg, and when we were young, we loved taking broken things apart, seeing how they worked, and then trying to fix them. And it was these hands-on experiences that really taught us the skill of repair, helping us to live more sustainably. It's also what first made us both want to become engineers. Tomorrow is International Women in Engineering Day, which will only highlight the lack of women in our field, currently making up only 27% of the STEM industry. Current education is failing to inspire diversity within the STEM industry. And so we wanted to create a product to address this. Let me introduce to you Team Repair, a STEM subscription which teaches children how to repair by sending them electronic gadgets with engineered-in faults. Our program teaches key STEM topics such as batteries, buttons, and motors, whilst teaching children how to use tools to fix real products like walkie-talkies or speakers. Once they're done with the repair, they send the gadget back to us, but keep the tools to recreate similar repairs at home and also building up a toolkit over time. The child is guided through the activity with our accompanying AR app platform. The app overlays key bits of instructions and STEM lessons on top of the gadget to create an incredibly immersive and engaging experience for the child. All our products are sourced from unsold manufacturer returns, redirecting them away from landfill. We have a letter of intent from Thumbs Up, one of the UK's leading toy electronics manufacturers, who has agreed to send us their gadgets at zero cost to us. Once parents return the fixed gadget back to us, we then recreate the fault before sending it off to another child. And all of this means that our business is entirely circular. We're creating zero clutter for parents and, more importantly, zero waste for the planet. Insights from our user tests with parents, schools, and educational specialists has allowed us to create our prototype box, which we have now tested with over 75 different families. And we've used the feedback to really refine the product ready for launch next year.
There are 4 million 8 to 12-year-olds in the UK, having on average £300 spent in their toys each year. 13.7% of these toys are STEM toys, showing a massive market opportunity. To simplify logistics as we scale, we aim to focus on the 550,000 of these children that are based in London. Our prototype box costs £8 to make, and we are charging £20 a month, which means we have a gross profit margin of £60. In the future, we want to expand our AR platform to provide a low-cost, digital-only version of Team Repair to increase our scalability and reach. Our competitors, such as KiwiCo, provide boxes like these that are built once, played with for a bit, and eventually thrown away. We are confident that Team Repair's USPs make us stand out from competition. We're teaching STEM with real products, we're teaching the real-life skill of repair, and our service is entirely sustainable. Our market traction shows that our USPs are resonating with customers, as it has been unstoppable. With just £15 of Facebook advertising, we were able to build a waitlist of over 220 families. We also want to make our programme as accessible as possible by providing free workshops, like the one we did last weekend at the Great Exhibition Road Festival. We plan 4 more of these with the East London Waste Authority in collaboration with the Restart project this summer. We're a team of final year design engineers with industry experience in educational tech, circular businesses, and product and app development. We've been working together the last 4 years, creating award-winning products and businesses. We're being further supported by our growing board of advisors, who are helping us with our app development, logistics, and our workshops. 6 months ago, Team Repair was just an idea, and the WE Innovate programme has shaped it into the business that you see today. The £15,000 Enterprise Lab funding will truly make Team Repair possible, allowing us to build our 12-month programme and app ready for launch next year. Today, I've shared a stage with brilliant women in STEM that only make up 27% of this industry. Now imagine the innovation that could come from turning that 27% to 50%. We're Team Repair, and we're on a mission to get children from all backgrounds into STEM while saving the planet. So join us to fix the future.
Patrick's now going to hand out month 1 of our programme to the judges, and we welcome any questions.
Well done on a brilliant pitch. Over to judges' questions now. And Alexis, when you're ready, can we start with you?
Yes, I haven't opened my box. I'll do that in just a minute. Can you talk a little bit about the workflow? Because I understand circular, and I think that's a great idea, really good presentation. But I look at your profitability numbers, and it looks like that the workflow is these get shipped out, the child builds it, and they ship it back, and then it's repaired, replaced, and then shipped out again. How many people are you going to have to complete this circular economy structure, and how many units will you sell per month, per week? How many people need to be doing the repairs and shipping? So it's that unit cost basis I'm really interested in.
Yeah, so as you saw, one of our big costs is logistics, where the cost that we had on the screen for the labour cost was based on it being around 10 minutes per breaking of the product, servicing of the product. And that's something that is based off the use tests that we've done already. That's the amount of time it took us to do that.
Yeah, so one box technician would be able to serve 760 boxes per month, which is equal to 760 customers. So as we scale operations-wise, we would hire accordingly for that. What was the other half of that question? How we?
No, I just wanted to know how you got to the unit cost, because logistics is going to be very high on this. And
Yeah.
so everything is produced in the UK? All the electronics are produced?
So the electronics are sourced from an existing manufacturer of those, and what basically happens is currently around 5% of product lines are sent to landfill because they're not sold, and it costs too much for low-cost electronics to repackage and resend to retailers. So we are creating an intervention there and taking those products that would otherwise go to landfill off their hands at no cost to us. We've got this contract that we're negotiating with the manufacturer. He's already sent us the first shipment of items, which we'll then be able to put in our boxes. So the items are coming directly from the UK. In terms of logistics, it costs, £4. That's based off courier quotes and speaking to logistics providers. We aim to drive that down by creating school drop-off points where we could ship and collect in bulk.
Okay, that was my question, is drop-off points. So online sales only, or in-store, what's your distribution mechanism for this?
So at first we want to focus on online, and we're going to get the word out there through the workshops and marketing through word of mouth.
Okay. And any partnerships? Have you spoken to anyone, partnerships?
Yeah, so we've got partnerships with 2 private tuition companies, and they've offered to also sell the product within their store. So that's quite small scale, but then that will, expand to others. We've also got these 4 workshops planned throughout the summer, which is in partnership with the East London Waste Authority and the Recycle London initiative. So those will be in 4 London councils, Redbridge, Havering, Newham, and they will be for the children within those councils.
And the device and the repair of the device is gender neutral. You're trying to attract boys and girls building the same thing, so hopefully in the future they'll be doing the same thing.
Yeah, so hopefully...
There's no market segmentation for boys and girls?
No, definitely. No, it's same product for everyone because kids can play with any toy. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sophia?
Okay. Nice touch. Hello, Sophia. Nice touch. Great fan club in the back as well. Nice work. Question, a lot of packaging. So, and all I get is a screwdriver, or my kid gets a screwdriver and this cool device, all right? And you need to think a little bit around packaging. Okay, so let me I like this. I think this is quite interesting. I want to know the duration of the subscription. How much is the mom paying every month? How long is she paying that subscription for? The other question is around, so in this world where nobody wants to touch anything, when this item that needs to be repaired comes home, how do you know it's sterile? How do you know it's clean? Because the mom doesn't want the kid to touch anything which, especially with chemicals, especially a lot of these things may have batteries. How do you make sure there's nothing spilled? Because my sister buys a lot of secondhand stuff on eBay, and it's just to make sure that it comes in as pristine condition as possible for that 8-year-old. Again, I love it, okay? I'm not, but this is about building and questioning in a little bit around it. Last quick question is around, why not turn it around and help repair stuff that's in your house already?
Okay, I'll take the first and then you take the second. Okay, so currently it's a 12-month program. That's for feasibility. We want to launch in Q2, so just before the summer holidays of next year. That's why it's a 12-month program. However, once that's done, we'd like to keep developing to extend customer lifetime value. Do you want to talk about safety?
You talked about the packaging. So there's quite a lot of packaging. It's quite bulky, but then that box is shipped to every single child. So we wanted it to be as robust as possible. So hopefully that box will last as long as possible because it's reuse rather than throwing away packaging. We talked about
safety and
sanitizing.
What are you doing to make sure that the item that comes home is as sterile as possible to reassure the mom that it's clean stuff?
There's something hasn't come up in user testing yet, but obviously that's something we need to iterate on. Obviously we'll
talk to my sister's mom. My sister's a mom.
It sounds like
she buys a lot of secondhand stuff on eBay. Right?
Okay, we need to advice from her then.
We've currently allocated 10 minutes of reservicing time per product. That's quite a conservative estimate. It takes about 5 minutes to actually break it and fix it for us to do. And then the extra 5 minutes is for servicing. So for example, if anything is broken, if we have to replace any components, so then we could definitely incorporate sanitization, which we'll speak about after this. And then what was the last bit, sorry?
No, sorry, I don't want to take up, but just I turn it around. So there's lots of broken
Oh,
toys
yeah,
at
yeah,
home?
yeah.
How do you get that kid to not just chuck it away and go on Amazon?
Yeah, that's the end goal. But
Yeah.
to teach them to be able to do that, we're teaching very specific lessons so that they can then apply that to other things.
Okay, good.
Okay, Ramsey, to you next.
I really wish you existed when I was a kid.
Oh.
I think in return, can you please promise me to give me your link so I can apply to be one of your users
Yes, so
tomorrow?
if you-
There it is. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
And I'm not kidding. I'm serious about that. I don't know if I'm making a comment or a question, but you've got your circular system and you've got that great thing which is saving all the garbage dumps from all the electronics that go in it. Now, these electronics that go in it are not designed to make it fun and educational for kids to take apart and rebuild. And if anything, in today's items, there are lots of bad chemicals for you, as someone mentioned before, and that stuff gets shipped to emerging markets, sadly, to be able to be taken care of. Why don't you just create your own toys, kits, whereby what you're maximizing is, number one, the experience, and number two, the turnaround that you achieve?
Yeah, so manufacturing hardware, I'm sure as everyone knows, is incredibly expensive to do right. Sustainability is at the core of our business, and so we would want to use, really sustainable materials manufactured in the UK. That's not currently economically feasible, and so we put it in year 3 of our roadmap. I think eventually we really want to create our own products with modular repairs because that really increases our scalability and our reach. It's just not something that's feasible for right now. So, yeah.
And I think your comment on the gadgets not being designed for kids to take them apart, and they'll find that fun. I think we're basing this project on what inspired us to be engineers when we were little. So, you can see. When we were younger, we got into engineering because we could take apart real products and we could see how they were made. And it almost gave us confidence to be engineers and that we could do this when we were younger. So we're almost creating a safer way for children to do this than them just taking apart products at home willy-nilly.
Yeah, but products you had when you were kids were very differently manufactured than products are manufactured today. Today we are in the throw it away and buy something else. This is how they come out of the factory. Just a thought, as opposed to being able to find a screw somewhere and unscrew it.
Yeah, we're very specific with the types of products we're selecting for our boxes, so we're looking at what there is and what is feasible for them. I think we're also coming at the right time. The right to repair movement is taking off. They've just passed laws in Europe saying, for example, that manufacturers have to say how repairable something is. I think Apple just the other day released something that they're going to start including repairable parts, etc. I think there's a shift in mindset coming, and we are enabling that transition to encourage children to repair.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that brings us to our final team of the evening, and it's Banu, co-founded by Sally Shafira, a student on the MSc Innovation, Entrepreneurship and Management at Imperial College Business School. Banu's solution is an affordable and integrated aquaculture technology for fish farmers to monitor and troubleshoot water quality issues in real time through the Internet of Things system. Please welcome Sally.
Right, hello everyone. I'm Sally Shafira, CEO of Banu, an aquatech startup from Indonesia. Now, from you here who has been through a breakup, lots of you, who has been ghosted on a date. Well, usually we tell our friends about it, right? And what do they always say when we told them that? No worries, there are plenty of fish in the sea, right? Is it still true though? Not really, because we're literally running out of fish in the sea. In fact, 70% of the fish we eat now comes from fish farming or aquaculture, which is good, because it's much more sustainable than captured fisheries. But let's meet Mr. Sadi. He's a local fish farmer from my country, and he said he's been suffering from low productivity of his pond. And he's not alone, because 80% of fish farmers suffer the same issue. Why? Because while there are technologies offered to them, they either cannot understand or afford them. This is where Banu comes in as a one-stop solution for precise, profitable, and accessible aquaculture production. We want technology to be their friend, not to complicate their lives even further. So we create a wholly automated system to monitor and control pond water quality. And to make it simpler, we have the sensor here as the brain that controls everything. We have the aerator as the lung that supplies oxygen, and the mobile app as the remote monitoring system. And through our pilot projects, we've proven to have improved the fish growth. For example, you can see that the fish on the right, which is Banu-grown fish, is much bigger than the traditionally grown fish. And it shortens the harvesting period because from 4 months to 3 months. So if farmers usually harvest like 3 times a year, with Banu they can do it 4 times a year. And because of this, they can earn 75% more profit each year. So aquaculture is the fastest growing food sector in the world. And Indonesia itself, as the 3rd largest aquaculture country, has a big market, 4.25 billion pounds. And we're not stopping there. We want to also tap into the Asian market, which is with the targets like China, India, Southeast Asia. But again, the global market is also very huge. So scaling up globally is not only possible, it's the next steps. But now we are focusing on providing technology for Mr. Sadi and the other 1.9 million fish farmers in Indonesia. As I say, technology already exists. For example, paddle wheel and blower aerators. This traditional technology is basically like Nokia in the 2000s. Everyone uses them because that's all they know. But Banu wants to be the iPhone in this industry. We want to be a tech that focuses on human design. And our users have agreed that Banu really helps improve the water quality, thus increasing their the productivity and profitability. But they also say that the previous technology fails to guide them how to use it and is too expensive to pay upfront. So they said, oh, why not use a subscription model? We can rent your product and we can maintain our relationship with after-sales services. Well, we listen to them, and instead of relying on one-off sales, we provide the product as a hardware as a service. So they can rent these products, plus getting maintenance services, technical consultations, and joining the farmers community. How much? Not more than a cup of cappuccino for Imperial Taste Cafe. So since launching our product in January this year, we've sold 15 units and rented 2, and we're producing for more than 60 people in our waiting list. We also got grants from Cisco, Software Food, and NEOM, and also partnerships with lots of partners. And I've also been invited in a NEOM Changemakers discussion, which has almost 1 million views in less than a month. So what's next? The most important one is IP, which we plan to use the WE Innovate Prize for, and also to cater to the waiting list. Next year, we plan to develop and launch the sensor and app, and also the next is more product for more species and more regions. And we also want to develop solar-powered hardware so that people with no access to a power grid can also use Banu. Now, I seem like a solopreneur here, but I'm actually not alone. I have Fajar here, Adlan, Alifa, Hari, and Ali Juantama, all Indonesian right now. And we're backed by expert mentors from all across industries, business, aquaculture, and also from the manufacturing side. We want to make fish farming better for both worlds, above water and below. If you're interested to know more, check our website or scan this QR code. Thank you.
Well done on a brilliant first pitch. Can we start with judges' questions? And Sophia, with you.
Hi. Excellent. Nice work. Bit of a fishy audience. Sorry.
Thank you.
I like this a lot. So BP Ventures, we've invested in a company called Calista, which takes methane and creates fish food. And I get the market. It's an incredible market. Even in the West, we don't think of it. We don't know where our fish comes from. Yeah, we know they come from the sea. We're very far. We're not close to it as much as, let's say, countries like Indonesia, which is much nearer the sea. I can introduce you to a few people, Climate Collective, and a few others. to
That
have
would be amazing.
conversations.
Thank you.
Agri-tech is huge. Yeah?
yeah.
Agri-tech is big business for you and for obviously for other people. Question around competitors. So you did your 2x2 grid.
Yeah.
And you showed some non-big hardware IT stuff. Do you have something which is IP-able, which is protectable? And don't just tell me an app. Is there something which is protectable that can help you build a moat? Because these companies are pretty big companies as well.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah,
my
sure.
one question. And the second question is around, do any people in your team have moms or dads who are in fishing?
Sorry?
That team of yours,
Yeah.
do any of them have moms or dads who are in fishing?
Mine.
Good. So you understand the passion and
Exactly.
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Yes, but the competition is that's what one of our biggest plan, like the short-term plan, is about the IP, because we've been getting like warnings from everyone, because like this is a good idea, protect this, because because we are having the technology about the aeration system. Most importantly, is microbubble aerator, which is something pretty new. It's used in wastewater management, but not in fisheries and aquaculture. So our plan is to protect that because it's pretty much protectable. So the IP we're planning to like register is for the microbubble aerator and also for the sensor, because it also has many. The design itself, we design it to be as human-centric as possible. So this is also something that we want to protect because we want this to be like a B2C. So that we want to protect this against competitors that want to make the design the same as ours. And we also have this like floating system because the pump is like submersible. So it has like quite a complex set of like design. So we want to protect that. It's pretty much like protectable for IP. Yeah.
Okay, Ramsey, to you next, please.
Yeah, thank you very much for yet another great presentation. I'm having a bit of a hard time equating your economies, the economies for your business, and the economies from the fish farmer perspective. I mean, there's such a, you made the joke that it costs the same thing as a cappuccino from here, but clearly we're not here, we're not paying for the cappuccino. I think the earnings per month of the average person working on a fish farm is probably $70
Yeah, that's true.
a month. And you are renting your machine for how much?
Sorry?
How much are you renting your machine for?
£4 to £8, depending on is it only the aeration system or with the sensor?
Per
unit.
Per month?
And per month, yes.
Okay. So how can you make a return by renting a unit on £4 a month?
Yeah. So in economic sense, it would be quite different perspective here in Indonesia, because like okay, £4 here is like a cup of cappuccino in here, but in Indonesia it's like quite a lot. So this is something that actually we have been surveying from our users and also from the the farmers group. So this is something that can make us still profitable, but also they're willing to pay, because the willingness to pay is currently pretty low. And the way that we can scale this up is actually okay. Now our price. Because how do we return this as actually by scaling up the production? Because if we scale up the production, the cost per unit is actually pretty low for one unit. And this pricing strategy is actually very feasible. It can even be lowered, but we need to maybe take more profit margin so that we keep it at £4 to £8. So scaling up the production is the key to maintaining this kind of subscription model. And this is actually working because there's also an automatic fish feeding company in our country called eFishery, which also implementing the subscription model, and now they're like one of the only profitable startups in my country, because like they are keeping the relationship with the farmers, so their traction is like amazingly like they're growing very fast because the farmers are easily acquired through this business model.
So at the current scale, you cannot be profitable.
I'm not saying that yes, because like the cost per unit right now is pretty high because
also like it's hardware. It has like minimum order quantity, so we cannot order too much right now. So that's why also the price for WE Innovate is used for ordering the hardware.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alexis, to you now.
So I'm going to carry on with that. Where are the actual 3 components manufactured?
Sure. So it's mostly assembled in our manufacturing site, but some parts, like for example, the insides of the electrical box here, some are imported, but more than 50% is locally sourced, because it's actually something that our government has been pushing, like 100% locally produced. So they have this regulation that they are providing lower cost materials for startups. So for example, like for hardware startups like us, like the pump and also the nozzle, which is also like a crucial part of our hardware, can be locally sourced with like the same price, maybe if you acquired from China or from Taiwan.
So you said you have 15 units deployed now?
Yeah.
And you have sensors on those units?
Sorry?
You have sensors embedded in those units?
Yeah,
So you are
15.
getting real-time data and you're able to make some...
So the units themselves are the microbubble aerator, not the sensor. So it basically the data we source now is based on the field data, not the real-time data of the pond. Like for example, for dissolved oxygen level, we have the our partnering farmers to like record the data, but not yet in real time.
And the reason why I'm asking is, did you say that you would take the WE Innovate money and build additional sensors, is what I thought I heard you say?
Yeah, to test, we have the sensors, the prototype, we only have to test it.
Okay, and you'd use this money to extend that and do the testing?
Yeah.
So you have 15 deployed, you have some sensors, but you don't have real-time sensors to really kind of give you the data that you need. Okay. No, I think that's it. It was very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions, judges? No, in which case, well done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So that brings us to the end of the pitching section of today's event. And now that you've seen and heard all of those pitches on their venture ideas, please join me in giving them all a big round of applause. Well done to you all. Right, that means, judges, it's time for you to vacate and leave us to deliberate, and Ala will take you out as, yes, she's standing by the door ready for you whenever you're ready. So, time now, as you heard there, for the judges to review all of the team's innovation, solution, potential and team expertise to ultimately decide who will be this year's WE Innovate Final 2022 grand prize winner. So while the judges make that tough decision, and no doubt it's going to be a very tough decision, I'm really pleased to say we have a special guest joining us for this evening's keynote speech, an award-winning angel investor, venture capitalist and international speaker who is a founding member of Impact X and currently sits on the board of Innovate Finance and also a member of the London Hub of Global Shapers of the World Economic Forum, which is a community of young people driving change. She's a strong advocate for entrepreneurship and leadership, listed on the Forbes 30 Under 30 Europe Finance list, with a position on Forbes 25 leading Black British people. I'm absolutely delighted to welcome our keynote speaker, Yvonne Bajela, to the stage now to share her experience of entrepreneurship and challenges and opportunities available to founders. And any minute now, Yvonne, your slide will come up. Welcome.
Hello everyone. Let me just say how fantastic were those pictures that we had just now. The judges definitely have a really, really tough decision, so I'm glad that's not me. So great to see you all here today. My name is Yvonne Bajela, and thank you for the warm introduction. Today I want to talk to you about cultivating a spirit of entrepreneurship in every single aspect of your life. So I'll start by telling my own story. So where it all began, this is a picture of me and my father. So my father unfortunately passed away 3 years ago. However, he is someone that I would call my role model. I grew up with both parents coming from Ghana. They were immigrants. My father, he was a minicab when he moved to this country, minicab driver. My mother actually worked at Sainsbury's. And I would say that they were my first examples of entrepreneurship, as my father went on to run his own accountancy firm, and my mother actually now owns multiple properties, and she's very much an entrepreneur in her own right. We grew up in this flat in South London, and that's very much where my life started. And, growing up, we had quite a strange childhood. So I was one of the nerds at school that loved maths. Most children say that they hate numbers, but I'm someone that actually really, really loved numbers. And that was probably down to my dad. So at a very young age, when most children were playing out in this flat, I was actually at home reading The Economist with my dad. Yes, that's very strange, but we used to spend weekends reading The Economist. And by the age of 12, I would be the one that would say to my dad, help, can we get the Financial Times? I want to read the Financial Times this weekend. So yes, quite the nerd growing up. That was pretty much me. However, what that did instill in me is a belief that I could change the world from a financial perspective. And he really built in me confidence that, anything was possible, really. And that's something that I've carried through my entire life. So when I went to sixth form, given that I was really, really in love with numbers, I actually said to my the sixth form head teacher that I wanted to study economics, even though it wasn't a subject at the school. However, me being me, they said that was fine, and they actually allowed me to do it, to my surprise. I went on to university to study economics as well, and again, really loved it. It was basically a maths degree, and again, I think that one thing that I really did believe was that I could change the world from a financial perspective. So when I finished university, I actually went on to work in an investment bank at Goldman Sachs. And my parents were really proud of me, working at a top investment bank. That's where I had started my career. And however, at the same time, I was very confused. I worked in investment banking, decided to go down that path because it paid well, seemed like the cool thing to do. However, 6 months in, I absolutely hated it. I wasn't up for the boozy Friday nights. I wasn't up for, working 15 hours a day. And it was then that I made the decision that I'm going to live life on my own terms. And yes, at the time, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but I was ready to take that risk. And that for me was an example of how, regardless of whether you're an entrepreneur, you're starting your own business, you're working at a corporate, every aspect of your life, you can cultivate the spirit of entrepreneurship. So I took the leap. I decided to leave banking, didn't know what I was doing. I then decided to, take a trip to Southeast Asia and went traveling there, which was amazing. It was during that time that I did a lot of thinking, came back to London and decided that I wanted to go into strategy consulting. So I went into strategy consulting, and to my surprise, I didn't like that either. So you can imagine, parents thinking, what is wrong with this child? But there was still a little bit of hope, okay? So that wasn't the end for me. But, the thing that I want to highlight is, regardless of the fact that, I was a little bit confused, didn't really know what I wanted to do, I wasn't afraid to take risk. I wasn't afraid to leave places where I didn't feel like I wanted to be anymore. And so that's something that, I've really fostered throughout my entire career and in every aspect of my life. Take calculated risk where it seems necessary. And so that's something that I did. I was in strategy consulting and, decided in 2013 to spend the summer in Ghana. And that's where my family's from. So I spent 6 weeks out there, which was absolutely amazing. If you haven't been to Ghana, then I 100% recommend that you go. And it was during my time in Ghana that I said, look, I'm here for 6 weeks. what do I do with my time other than just spend it with friends? And so I started advising startups, actually. And that's how I came to know about the world of venture capital, because it was around the time where there was a lot of narrative around Africa Rising. There was a lot of, American venture capitalists on the continent. Met a few of them, came to learn about venture capital, and decided that, this is actually what I want to do. So when I came back to London, it was around the time that LinkedIn had just come out, or, it was really rising in its prominence. I decided, me being me, to message every single investor I came across on LinkedIn and say, hey, can we go for coffee? Not to my surprise, hardly any of them responded, but those that did respond were super helpful. And I found myself having lots of meetings, learning more about the industry, until I landed my first role as a venture capital investor. But before I get into that particular role, one thing that, was really, really, again, a calculated risk is, I'd landed this role, had never done investments before, and they said to me, Yvonne, we would love for you to join. So it was Mitsui, Japanese investment company, but we want you to head up investments for Africa. And I was like, okay, don't know much about that, but sure, I'll do it. And for me, it just felt like, opportunities like that don't come around every day. So yes, I was very unsure of myself. I was thinking, okay, am I going to fake it? Try and make it? But I just thought, opportunities like this don't come around every day. So let's jump at this opportunity, and, I'll learn, figure it all out when I get there. So that's exactly what I did. Within 6 months of joining, I was promoted. So I started managing investments for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Did a lot of traveling, as you can see here. So spent some time living in various countries, as far as Estonia, spent some time living in Israel, South Africa, and it was really cool. And I feel as if, each of those countries taught me something different. Like, you learn so much from having experienced other people's cultures. So that's one thing that I really, really enjoyed. And, definitely don't take it for granted. So, a few years after joining, they then said to me, Yvonne, do you want to go to Japan, where our headquarters is? And again, me being me, I said, sure, let's do it. Don't know anything about just Japan, don't speak the language. But again, I jumped at the opportunity. And I say this because, life is about taking calculated risk. Playing it safe often doesn't get you very far. You've all heard that, without any risk, there's no reward. And that's something that I truly do believe in. So when I went to Japan, it was an incredible time, very tough, actually. I remember when I was, ordering food, for example, I'd have to go outside of the restaurant, call someone on the street to help me order because, they wouldn't speak Japanese. But that taught me resilience. And that really taught me that, if I can go and live in a country that's, thousands of miles away from my family and still get on with it, still, do a great job and be the best that I can be, I can do anything. And, that's something that I want to share with you today, that, whatever you set out to do, you can achieve it. So my time in Japan was very tough, very, very tough, but it was also an experience that, I really do cherish and I took a lot away from. So fast forward to 2019, after having spent 4.5 years at Mitsui and taken away a lot of learnings, having taken a lot of huge bets and risk, I was approached to join a new fund here in the UK called ImpactX. Again, it was another journey into the unknown. It was a new fund. I wasn't sure how it would go, wasn't sure how I would work with the people on the team. But again, it's about taking those leap of faith. And, when I say take calculated risk, it's taking risk where you know that, if things don't go right, then there's always alternative means. And that's something that I really do believe in life. As some of you decide to embark on entrepreneurship journeys, it may work out, it may not work out. But if it doesn't, then think about what you can learn from the experience. So ImpactX started in 2019. That was a great experience. So now we're in 2022, and we made some great investments. We invested in over 22 companies, and the fund went on to do pretty well, and is now investing across Europe. So that's Impact X. Now, what I did want to share is just a few lessons I've learned along the way. This is where I am today. However, I do still believe that there's so much more, and I believe that there's so much more within all of you as well. So one of the key lessons that I learned along the way is walk your own path. I strongly do believe that we all have a purpose in this world. And, especially when you're at university, you can be trying to figure out, what do I do next? What should be my next steps? Your peers, your friends are going down particular paths. Should you be doing something that they're doing? Should you be, following the expectation of your parents and so on? But, I truly do believe that you have to walk your own path. Do what feels right for you. Do what you're passionate about. Do what you love. And you can never go wrong with that. There's always a way, regardless of what you do. So even if you think that, you want to work in a really quirky career where, you're not sure how you'll make money, I honestly believe that there's a way for everything. There's always a way. Just keep going at it. Do what you sets your soul on fire. And just walk your own path, really. I spoke a lot about my time at Mitsui and how I took this big risk when they told me to manage investments across Africa and then across the entire EMEA region. I didn't know what I was doing, and it was me taking a massive risk. But like I said, no risk, no reward. So you have to get comfortable in taking risk. But when I say taking risk, try to take calculated risk. Think about, the potential payoffs, because if it does work out, then, that will be incredible. If it doesn't, then it's not the worst thing, because you'll learn from your experience. So don't get afraid of taking risk. In life, I feel like risks are to be taken, but obviously calculated risk. And then, the other thing that I'd like to say is believe in yourself before anyone else does. A lot of us, speak of imposter syndrome and, sometimes feeling anxious, sometimes feeling nervous. When you hear women such as, Serena Williams, for example, Michelle Obama even suffer with imposter syndrome, it's just so important to have that self-confidence and belief in yourself in order for other people to believe in who you are as well. And so I would always say, just always bet on yourself first. Otherwise, how can other people bet on you if you don't bet on yourself? And then the other thing I would say is be flexible with your goals. This is something that's very important. I remember when I finished uni, one of my biggest goals was, I want to make a ton of money. And as a graduate, you don't immediately, well, some do, but you don't always make a ton of money. It would be nice if we all did. But, be flexible. If I think about some of the, most successful companies that we know of today, for example, Instagrams of the world and YouTube of the world, they didn't start out as they were. So YouTube, for example, was a dating app. So people would exchange videos where they would, share their interest in other people. Instagram was actually a location sharing app. So people would share the location where they're at, and then they would post a picture. However, they realized that actually people were using the picture sharing more frequently than they were the location sharing. And so that's how Instagram came to be what we know it to be today. And so I say that to say, be flexible with your goals. In life, you can set out to do something, and yes, the end goal can remain the same, but just be flexible in how you get there. And you may, change your mind. I never knew that I wanted to, that I would love working in venture capital. It's only through, having been through multiple roles, I realized that venture capital is a path that I wanted to pursue, and that I really loved it as well. And then finally, I just want to say that you should play the long game as well. When you come out of university, you want to have everything figured out, but you're still very young. You have so much time ahead of you. I, for example, have made 4 different career changes since I left university. And so get comfortable in just knowing that you have time ahead of you and you can achieve what you want to achieve. Don't try to cut corners. Don't try to rush things. Things always work out over time. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Yvonne, our brilliant keynote speaker. And actually, just while we wait for the judges to file back in, no, they are filing back in. Yvonne, can we just ask just quickly while we wait for the judges to take their seats again, if you wouldn't mind, just any advice for the startups here today, anything that you would advise them with your experience and your expertise? Mike's here. Thank you.
Anyone that's thinking of embarking on an entrepreneurship journey, I would just say, just go for it. You know, focus on the customers. A lot of people focus so much on raising money and the shiny things, what you see in the headlines of, you know, this company's raised millions of pounds and so on. But if you set out to solve a problem, just focus on the people that you want to serve. And, you know, if you're able to serve them and able to do it well, then, you know, all the other things will follow. So just do it. Don't overthink it. And get comfortable with the uncomfortable as well.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Yvonne. Okay. I would like to welcome back our judges. It looks as though the deliberation is complete. So thank you very much indeed to a brilliant keynote speech there from Yvonne. Now, as a reminder, our judges today have been scoring the teams based on their innovation, their potential to grow, their team expertise, and their plans to grow. And they now have come to a final decision. So I'll ask Sarah Ranch-of-Hale, Head of Programmes and Partnerships at the Enterprise Lab, to share a few words on behalf of the Enterprise Lab and welcome our judges to the stage to announce those winners. Sarah, over to you.
Hello, it's so nice to get a clap, thank you. Good evening, welcome, and I think you'll agree that the teams did an absolutely phenomenal job this evening. So if you can join me in giving them another round of applause, just say well done. And I think what's really amazing and inspiring about these teams is that they all started with an idea, and some of them not that long ago. So for any of you in the audience that are thinking about perhaps exploring entrepreneurship, and maybe you have a great idea, please come and speak to us. So I'm Sarah Ranch-of-Hale. I am Head of Programmes and Partnerships at the Enterprise Lab. And for those of you that don't know, the Enterprise Lab is the college's Centre for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, and we support well over 2,500 students, alumni and postdocs each year. And we do that through a variety of different ways, through programmes like the one that we're celebrating today, WE Innovate, and through skills sessions, other activities, coaching and mentoring. So please do connect with us. There's plenty of ways for you to get involved. So tonight we're celebrating 8 years of inspirational women-led teams. They are incredible, as you can see this evening, and WE Innovate has just gone from strength to strength. I think Alice mentioned at the beginning that our WE Innovate alumni have gone on to raise well over 16 million in external investment, and that's just the ones that we know about. We also launched this year WE Accelerate, which is the follow-on programme, the older sister, if you like, of WE Innovate, and it's designed to support women at Imperial to go on and raise investment. So we launched that programme in December this year, just gone, and it finished in June. And since that programme has ended, those teams have gone on to raise an amazing £3 million in investment in such a short space of time. I hope some of those teams are here this evening. I'd also like to just say, and it has been touched on by Maggie, that we have to say, and I'm going to embarrass her now, an absolutely huge thank you to Ala Ismail, who has led this programme for the past 2.5 years, who has spearheaded the WE Accelerate programme, and really her passion, her ambition, and her unwavering support for these teams has just been phenomenal, and you've been an absolute pleasure to work with, and I know I speak for all of the teams here when I say thank you, and we're going to miss you very much in your new adventures, and good luck. So please join me in a round of applause. And also, please don't leave me. No, we're a big fan of Ala, so on behalf of the whole of the Enterprise Lab team, thank you. And finally, also I should also mention Emily and Samara, who have also been working on this fantastic event this evening, so thank you to both of you for your hard work. And finally, I'm especially grateful to our judges this evening, to Alexis, Sophia and Ramsey for the really unenviable job of judging this evening. We had a heated discussion backstage just now, and in 15 short minutes, we came to some conclusions, which I'm sure you are all desperate to hear. So I will stop talking in a second. With that, I would like to welcome Alexis Derard St. James, the founder of WE Innovate, to the stage to present the Lauren Dennis Award. Thank you, Alexis.
Good evening, and it's a special treat for me to give this award because I knew Lauren Dennis, and Lauren Dennis's mother is here, and I'm not sure where she is, but if she could raise her hand right back there. So it's especially nice for me to be able to welcome you here because Lauren really was the quintessential founder. You looked in her eyes and what you saw was fierce determination, and she wanted to build things. And that's why I love founders, and that's why I think all of us do what we do, is we love to build things and we love to help people build things. And so it's really with great honor I get to do this. And I think every time we say Lauren's name, we remember her with great fondness. So tonight's award is really looking at the exceptional entrepreneur founder who really excelled in inspiring people in STEM. And with this award comes the prestigious Business Founders in Science Fellowship. So this is a very exciting, I think, award if you want to keep building and scaling and growing, and the fellowship is just a complement to that. So tonight, this award goes to Worst. Well done. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Alexis. I'd now like to welcome Jayshan Ratnakamur to announce the winner of the Engineers in Business Award. Jayshan. He's just coming. Jayshan!
Thank you, Sarah. Wow, I mean, you guys have been awesome. This team this year have been incredible. Ben, you weren't kidding earlier. Like, what a great cohort. And I think what I appreciated most is that you guys have shown that you can build stuff and sell stuff. And even for some of you that are at the MVP stage, you sold a compelling narrative today. You know, really awesome job. And I think what I've appreciated the most is that you guys have showed such deep empathy about the problem that you're solving, and that's going to take you so far in what you're doing. So to this award, really happy and pleased to be handing this award because I've been supported through the Engineers in Business Fellowship myself. And it's going towards that team that are making a massive change with positive impact. This team have shown dedication, innovation, and a lot of progress in the cohort this year. So it goes to, bear with me 1 second. Team Repair.
Thank you, Jayshan. And then we have the wonderful Sophie Nadir from BP. Sophie, would you like to come up and announce the final prizes? Welcome, Sophie, everybody. Sorry, Sophia.
Okay. For many people, starting up a venture can be quite daunting. And I was there, I was in your shoes as well. It takes someone to identify new opportunities, take risks, courage, and ability to collaborate with people along the journey to solve some of the world's most pressing issues. All of the women-led teams have shown these qualities during their journey and the WE Innovate program. It is with great honor that I get the chance to announce the winners of this year's WE Innovate Final. Presenting the runner-up prizes and taking up a share of £3,000 is saved and team repair. Okay. Okay, so the third runner-up for the WE Innovate Final prize is Untapped. Okay, so I guess if I say who the second runner-up is, then you'll know who the winner is. That's a bit obvious, huh? Okay, so I'll tell you, these were 5 fantastic companies, and I'm happy to have conversations with each one of you after the call, after this conversation, after these meetings, and we can have calls, and we can see how best we can help. So, wow, £7,000. Can I apply? Please, can I apply next year? I wish I had that when we were setting up. Okay, so the second runner-up for the WE Innovate Final prize is Woost. Okay, so elimination, the winner of the WE Innovate grand prize of £15,000 goes to, I don't know, who do you think? Banu!
Thank you, thank you. Oh my God, thank you. Thank you so much. I was told that the winner should prepare a speech, but I didn't, so I don't know what to say. But first of all, let's just thank the Based on Proximity. Thank you, everyone, the IM people, and so my friends who has come from another city, from their home to come here to support me. Thank you very much. Applause for all of us. Thank you so much, people. And also the biggest thank is, of course, for my team back in Indonesia. So they're actually the ones who are making the impact. I'm just here for the pitch. I'm here to tell you all the stories. But the ones who are actually doing things, coming to the farms in the middle of the summer heat, and actually speaking to the farmers, and actually, they're like the ones who are breaking the status quo right now are the people back in Indonesia. So Mas Fajar, Alifa, Mas Ari, Mas Hari, Ali, and all the team of Banu. This is all for you. This is all for us. So let's keep moving. So, and also for the farmers themselves, Mr. Sadi, who's like the ambassador of this pitch, and who's been helping us. We're like doing this. We've been doing this for years. We've been through failures, iterating, getting negative feedback, like we should just stop, but we keep going because we know that you and the farmers need our technology. This is something that will make them less, they will impact them socially, economically. This is why we are doing this, despite the many rejections from many investors, or even from defeats in competitions. But this program has been helping us so much from so many perspectives: IP, to customer discovery. Even we've launched thanks to WE Innovate and all the support they've gotten from the mentors. And also, I won't forget all of our mentors, Angela, if you're watching this, and also Maureen, and all the mentors who have helped us to get through this. It's 6 months, it's quite a long time, but it passes very quickly because we've been like moving so quickly in this time. So yeah, I will hold you for more, but thanks for everyone, and also for my parents for sure. They're like the ones who like you said that, yeah, my father is used to be like a fish farmer, but yeah, he feels like, okay, I don't think this is a good one, but that's why I got the idea of like, it's not your fault, it's because there's a lack of technology, there's a gap in there. So if you have an idea to break the status quo, go for it, even if it will be a very dwindling journey, because, you know, deep in my heart and also in our heart, you know, we all know it will be worth it. So thank you so much, thank you.
Huge congratulations to Sally and Team Banu, and huge congratulations to all of the teams involved. You should be very proud of yourselves. And to all the WE Innovate 2022 cohort, well done to you. That just leaves me to say thank you so much to our brilliant judging panel this evening and BP for sponsoring the WE Innovate programme. We would love to hear your thoughts, and you can share your feedback from today's event through Mentimeter. Just enter the code that you're seeing on the screen there. That's 7803688, and you can do that via mentimeter.com. So that's 7803688 at menti.com. To find out more about the Imperial Enterprise Lab, head to imperialenterpriselab.com, easy to remember. And to get involved and support the work of the Enterprise Lab, please contact Director Ben Mumby-Croft, who is here raising a hand, and Head of Programmes and Partnerships, Sarah Ranchep-Hale, who is still sticking around. So please do have a chat. That just leaves me with the task of saying, please, could all teams stay in here for photos? For everyone else, we'd like to ask you to join us in connecting, meeting, networking with all of the WE Innovate team, who will be outside in the foyer, in the reception area that you walked into, and an opportunity to network with everyone there now. It's just outside of this room on the ground floor. So thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you very much.